All right, so I just watched Mortal Kombat. I was looking forward to this movie. When they released the 7-minute, free intro, it got me even more, interested in watching it. So I'm gonna try not to get into it too much because I don't want to give anything away. Not that there's that much to give away. It's a pretty standard movie. But here's what stands out. So first of all, here's what I like. It gets right into it. We all know Mortal Kombat, we all know the lore, and thank God this movie doesn't waste its time getting right into the nuts and bolts of this thing. We're introduced to this new character. His name's Cole Young. He's not a video game character that exists. He's kind of like a device for the characters to give some exposition for the audience to understand what's going on. And there's nothing wrong with that because Mortal Kombat introduces, as a game, new characters all the time. And actually, they do a really good job with his... I don't know what you call it, superpowers that he ends up getting, So anyway, the story gets right into it, and if you're wondering what the tone might be, how ultra realistic it's going to try to be, moments after that first trailer, we get introduced to Raiden, and the way Raiden is introduced and the way he looks sets the tone right away. Okay, these are going to be costume accurate characters with powers that are accurate, but also it's set in the real world. And they actually do a really good job of the tone of this. I mean, if you think about it, that is a very difficult tone for it not to become wacky and cartoonish or to go too much the other way with realism where, you don't really get to enjoy it because you want to see your favorite characters. Anyway, moving on. As far as, the movie itself goes, the setup here is pretty standard. You have a good guy whose family is killed by the bad guy and he wants revenge. That's the easiest way in movies to set the standard of who's good and who's bad and who you're cheering for. The script, if you step back and listen to the words, it is absolute cringe, full of tropes that you see in every action movie, But what's amazing is the actors pull it off. It doesn't take you out of the movie. The flow is excellent. The setup for the game style level fights is pretty clever. This isn't a movie about a whole bunch of fights that take place in a tournament. That is an afterthought of this movie, but the way that they pull that off is pretty clever. Somebody cared when they made this movie. This is a Mortal Kombat fan and a movie fan. But on that note too, the actual fights aren't very memorable or good. I didn't leave karate chopping invisible people in my bedroom later, the way I did with the first Mortal Kombat. Of course, I was 20 years younger. But, the finishing moves, though, are all really awesome and taken straight from the video game. It's really cool. That's it. That's the movie is exactly what you might expect. It's a little better than I expected. The plot was better than I expected, the way that they set it up. There's some great takeaway notes from this movie, though, that I want to share. So, they use a bunch of phrases from the video game, and they do it in a good job without it being cringy. So they use fatality, Kano wins. They use test your might, which is amazing, and flawless victory. Now, in the original Mortal Kombat, when they say flawless victory, that wasn't even true. There was some back and forth punching, and that always bugged me. So this one was accurate. And also the get over here was epic when they finally did it and the reveal came. Oh, it was good. It was a good little goosebumpy moment. When Jax was introduced early on, I remember I was just sitting there waiting for his arms to get ripped off. I mean, that's neither here nor there, but I bet you everyone watching the Jax intro was like, oh, this is probably where he gets his arm ripped off. The pharmacist from the show Superstore, he played Kano. I thought that was interesting. It was a weird choice, but he pulled off Kano pretty good. There's an amazing moment where, the good guys are all training, and the one character, I think it's Liu Kang, but I can't remember, keeps leg sweeping Kano while they're training. And Kano's like, is that the only move you know? And I swear to God, that has to be a shout out to everybody who's ever played Mortal Kombat, getting so frustrated with their buddy just leg sweeping, and you throw the remote at the TV and you're like, is that the only fucking move you know? And I think that's a shout out to. So that's pretty hilarious. So in other words, this ultra realistic Mortal Kombat movie when I say ultra realistic, I mean the tone is for it is set in reality and we are taking ourselves seriously. But these little shout outs to the game and the way you play the game really make it fun. So I like that. What I didn't like was my favorite character in Mortal Kombat is Reptile. And he was also my favorite fight scene in the original Mortal Kombat from 1990 whatever. But he's wasted here. And you'll see what I mean when you watched it. It's kind of annoying. But the other thing I liked is the costume choices. They're bang on without being over the top. And they're not underwhelming. You know, like when they do X-Men live action and they try to make it realistic so everyone's in black leather. And everyone just wants Wolverine in yellow, you know. We'll accept it if you do a good job on the costumes. And that's what they did in this movie. So it was really good. They squeezed in the lore perfectly. I know there was a lot of worry online about how they're going to pull off all the lore around Mortal Kombat in an hour and 50 minutes. And they did a good job. You know, it's such a standard movie, you know. Set up this, like you've seen it in 1,000 action movies and stuff. You know, Sonya Blade has been investigating this idea that there's a mysterious tournament of other realms. That whole explanation is, you know, 40 seconds, and that's all it needs, and they don't push it further than that because they're just keeping the audience going. They're respecting that the audience are fans, and they just need a quick reminder. And there might be a couple non-fans that are watching, you know, along with a fan, and it's just enough information to keep everything going. And they do a great job of this. You know, they really do. It was impressive. The CGI definitely won't stand up 3 to 5 years from now. It was already really close to taking me out of the moment. You know, because like Goro was full CGI, this kind of thing, and it didn't work that well in every scene. Now I enjoyed it, but I was like, okay, this isn't going to hold up. That was my initial thought. So all in all, you know, I think anyone should watch Mortal Kombat if you like. If you're the kind of person that would watch Mortal Kombat, this movie, then watch it and you'll enjoy it. And I think you know what I mean by that. As a movie, as a real standalone movie, it's like a 4 out of 10. Just because it's as basic as it gets. As a Mortal Kombat movie, it is a 9 out of 10. I'll definitely watch it again. That's it. Get over here!